Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of the Wright Experience. I'm Dr. William T. Wright Jr., the founder and host of this show. You all might notice that the background is a little different than normal on this show tonight. And that is because I am vacationing in the hill country of Texas. Actually, I am celebrating, my wife and I will be celebrating our 33rd wedding anniversary tomorrow. And so we're away on vacation, but certainly wanted to continue to bring you more amazing content on this show. And so tonight is no exception. I have another amazing guest that I'm very, very excited to bring to you tonight and give him an opportunity to talk to you about his wonderful leadership that he is displaying, serving the students, and has been for many years, serving the students of South Carolina. My guest tonight is Mr. Floyd Lyles, who is the superintendent of the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice, which is housed in Columbia, South Carolina, the capital city of the state. Mr. Lyles is a transformational leader. He and his leadership team were responsible for transforming an at-risk student population and increasing the student graduation rate by 44%. You heard me right, 44% within a 2-year period by getting the staff and students to live by the mantra, success is our only option at the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice at Birchwood High School. He also transformed an underperforming school labeled by the South Carolina Department of Education from a letter grade of an F to a letter grade of a C. In that school, he also helped to attain the highest graduation rate in the history of Union County, South Carolina. Mr. Lyles has received his superintendent certification in 2020. He received his educational specialist degree from Converse College in 2007. He received his Master of Education degree from Converse College in 2003. He received his Bachelor of Science degree from Benedict College in 1998. And prior to his service with the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice, he served in various roles at Fairfield County Schools in South Carolina, Union County Schools, as we mentioned earlier, in Union, South Carolina, along with other places that he served as all the way up through the range from teacher to principal to the role that he currently serves. In addition to that, he is a member of the South Carolina Association of School Administrators. He is a member of the founder actually of the Excelsior Middle School Big Brother Association, and many, many, many other accolades that we'll have him talk to us about tonight. So our guest at this time, I want to welcome him to the Wright Experience, Mr. Floyd Lyles. How you doing this evening, sir?
I'm great, Dr. Wright. And first of all, I want to say thank you so much for this opportunity because, I really admire what you're doing with your leadership, and happy anniversary, taking time out on your anniversary out in the great state of Texas.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And it's been a great time here already, and looking forward to the next few days for sure. But I'm excited about having you here and giving you the opportunity and the space to talk to us about the school that you currently lead, and some of the excellent work and the opportunities for students who, I guess we'll use the word, who happen to matriculate there, and the opportunities that are abound for them. So if you will, start out by telling us a little bit about the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice and some of the uniqueness of the school and the work that you do serving as superintendent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, it's really, really excited, joining the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice. I always had a passion to help at-risk youth, being an at-risk youth, coming from a single family home myself. And, I was steps away from being in the same type situations. I grew up in a really, really tough neighborhood. Most of my friends that I grew up with, we were all in the trenches together. And so I can relate to a lot of our students and their backgrounds and the history of where they come from. And so going to the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice was a huge experience for me, just to be able to give back, to go into a really broken situation, and to what I realized when I got there was, besides, they committed crimes. Like, all of our students, something happened for them to be at the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice. But what I realized, everyone talks about the pipeline to prison. What I noticed from working with our students and our staff is really trauma to prison. It's traumatic situations young people have dealt with from, this really started in elementary school. We see the crime, we see the things they've done once they make it to this point. But every single student that I meet with, I talk to and really get to know, a lot of this started really, really early on, like first, second, third grade. And so you wouldn't think that because of where they are now in their ages. But for us, it's what I realized as I really got started and started having success. It was the exact same thing, the same things I did in when I was an elementary school principal, a middle school principal, a high school principal. It's about relationships. It's about expectations, setting a standard, creating a culture of winning for all students at all times. That's been the biggest difference. And so I tell people all the time, yes, these students did something to be locked up behind bars, but once you peel a lot of layers back of trauma, of traumatic experiences they went through, you realize it's the exact same kid that's in your schools right now.
So, and almost all of them, as you say, have seen some traumatic experiences that might have informed some of the poor decisions that they made. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, sir. When
Yeah.
you have young men and women saying that, Ms. Lyles, I know I was wrong. I know I
Absolutely.
committed a crime.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times it was environmental situations where we were ready to get put out. We were sleeping in the car already. I was trying to help mom. I was trying to help dad. And so when you hear that and you really start peeling back the tough side, or, how hard they want to portray themselves to be or whatever, and sometimes they are. When you really peel it back, and I always ask them the question, I say, so when did it start? Like, when did school become a problem? Because we have, even today, we had a student today that scored like a 180 on his GED. He hadn't been in school in 2 years. And so he scored college ready. And
Love it.
so trauma created a disconnect, a path of behavior and his circumstances. But this young man is brilliant. He's outscored like students that are in AP classes. And he's been out of school for 3 years. So the recipe for success and it's really about creating the right environment, creating the right culture, and creating opportunities for students to win at every single level. So I've been blessed and just fortunate to see, I joke and tell people all the time that I've been blessed to see it all from
Sure.
from kindergarten to jail. Every
Sure.
single level, I've been blessed with the opportunity to surround myself with some great people. I mean, I've been blessed beyond measure with the teams that I work with, that we're in the trenches together to create a culture that's winning for every single student every day. And it's difficult where we are. And I mean, just being transparent. Everybody, a lot of times, one of the misconceptions is like, we had a really bad incident just a few weeks ago, and it was all over the news, and it was a bad situation. It was horrible. But that's the story that sells. No one's talking about, over the last 5 years, we have 800 students that have graduated at SCDJJ. So this is the same group that was expelled. This is the same group that was out of school for 45 days. This is the same group that quit school. But 800 students, the most difficult population all over South Carolina. We have 800 graduates. If it wasn't for COVID, and some other events that's happened, we would literally be talking about 1,000 students that's graduated from SCDJJ. And so what I tell them is it's not about where you are, it's about a reset. It's about doing something different. It's about believing in yourself and listening to the people that's going to help you get where you need to go.
Yeah, and there's that old saying: if it weren't for the grace, so would I. So we can't be so quick to throw children away because of decisions that they make. And I'm so grateful that your organization is out there, and that you all are doing that tremendous work. And those graduation numbers are absolutely outstanding. I mean, 800 to, and could have 1,000, even 800 over the past five years is tremendous. And you and your folks are to be commended for hanging in there with those students and having those high expectations. So what do you attribute that to? Is that just a culture that you create, or what do you attribute that success on the other end? Because obviously, I'm assuming that children, when they show up there, are not exactly focused on college when they first get there. I'll put it that way. Or are they?
Not at all. Like,
Okay.
most of them have not had successful journeys throughout their school career.
Sure.
And, and I ask them the question. I always really try to get to the heart and say, so tell me, when did this start? You didn't just start picking up a gun or carrying a gun when you were 15, 16, 17. You didn't just stop loving school in ninth grade or in middle school. When did it start? And most of them, they'll say, Mr. Lyles, we know when people don't like you. And people kept saying that, and I didn't know how to read from my experience and things that I was going on at home. And so instead of someone calling on me, embarrassing me, knowing that I couldn't do it, I just acted out. Because if I act out, they're going to put me out of class. If I act out, I don't have to sit through and not let people know that I don't know what to do. Or I didn't eat last night. Matter of fact, I didn't even sleep at my house. I slept on the steps. And so we're dealing with, traumatic situations with our young people where they went through things that most adults can't handle at all. And, and I remind them, like, I'm like, you know what? I don't even know if I can do that now. What you went through, I don't even know if I can do that. But to meet them where they are, no matter where they are, we look at every single student when they come to our agency, and if you're on track to get your high school diploma, we're gonna put you in space to make sure that happens. For the most part, most of our students are over age, and you're 17 with 2 credits. So your best route to be successful is to get your GED instead of your high school diploma. So we're working through meeting every student, making sure that we're working as a collaborative team, and it's all hands on deck. It's every division. Our agency director, she's been very, very supportive in helping. Like we're doing things that 5-6 years ago when I first got here, we were, we just couldn't do. And now that we're having the success and we have 4 college partnerships with Allen University, we've been with them for 6 years now. South Carolina State is one of our partners. Voorhees College is a new partner we just started with, like this school year, this last semester, and Spartanburg Community College. So we have 4 colleges and a number of other colleges reaching out saying, hey, we want to partner with you guys. We want to make sure we're doing things. And so, from the time I was principal to superintendent, it's really about putting systems in place that every single child can be successful no matter where they are, who they are, and where they come from. And that's the biggest piece, I think, that created that culture of success.
So it sounds like, based on what folks might think when they hear the name of your school, the name of the organization that you represent and you lead, South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice. We automatically have some kind of perception, if you will, based on just hearing that name. So what are some misperceptions that we can clear up tonight about your school? You've already talked about some of the wonderful outcomes. Are there any other misperceptions that we might want to put out there now?
Well, I think the biggest misconception is that we realize that our students have committed a crime, but they're children just like my son and my daughter. They're
Sure,
just your son and your daughter,
sure,
and people forget that this on your side you looking at it with graduation rate, but parents are sending you their best, and
sure.
so they enter our system. We have to look at it the exact same way. No matter what happened to get them here, we have to treat them just like in the way that I say to my staff and my teachers all the time is, if this was your son, what would you want us to do right now? And I think the misperception for the outside of DJJ is, all the kids are bad, they're horrible, they committed a crime, they should stay there forever. And that's not true. They should serve their time because they made a mistake. They have to own that. But it's hard sometimes. One of the things is we have students on the honor roll that's in college opportunities and different things. And sometimes when they go back to their school district, it's like, well, he's not coming back to our school. So that's a huge piece that I've worked on the last 4 or 5 years. And it's students that I'll call and say, hey, to the neighboring districts and say, I understand most of the time it's a setup where you came from DJJ, so you're going to a Turner school. And so we're placing students that's been successful back into really difficult situations. So once they leave us, if they can get off to a great start, most of the time they continue. But when they have to go back to the same friends or the same environments at home, turn to school and stuff like that, that's a major piece that students deal with all the time. It's like, you did so well with us. What happened? You're back. Well, Mr. Lyles, like, they don't, they didn't want me. And sometimes those students created that. And I'll say, look, if you did that in that school or that community, you created that yourself. So now what are you going to do to show them that, hey, I did learn. I am a better person. You can't overreact to, people seeing it that way because of what you've done. You got to own that part of it as well. But I think that society sometimes don't give our students a fair shake when they come out. And now, if they come out and they're not ready, then we're responsible to call and say, hey, he's not ready to go into a regular setting. Mm-hmm. That's important too. And that's about collaboration, communication with the community. So it's getting better. I met with some districts that's had problems with our students going back to their district. And then I've called and said, hey, this student's been excellent for 2 years, 3 years. They've not had any problems at all. I just want to vouch for them to get them an opportunity and put them on strict probation, but give them a chance instead of going back to a disruptive environment where they probably going to not succeed at all.
Sure. Yeah. And you mentioned something, you said that sometimes children may not be successful when they go back because they didn't want me. And that's that whole cultural thing that sounds like you guys are working on so diligently there. That all schools need to do a better job of making sure that culture for children is right, and so that we can make sure that children are learning and doing what they need to do. So I absolutely think that that's absolutely important, whether they're at SCDJJ or Sumter School District or wherever. Those environments have to be right and conducive for learning as best as we can make them. So I think that's certainly a commendation for you all. So go ahead.
Well, I wanted to add to what you're saying, because I think it's very important also when students are, with us and being released, going back to their communities as well. But one of the things that I share, in our superintendent's meetings or having the opportunity to really talk to speak is like, you're going to take ownership of your district, and you should. In my situation, like, I am a part of every district. So I get students from all over the state of South Carolina. We have 9 facilities throughout the state of South Carolina. Most people think DJJ is just Broad River Road, where, you know, we have schools in Union County, we have schools all the way down in Charleston. So throughout the state, you know, we have to provide education services. And I think another misconception is, oh, that thing that went wrong that was in the news happened, but it's success happening all over the state every day, but that's not a news story. So that's another piece that I just, you know, wanted to share as well.
And it really needs to be. It should be newsworthy. The fact that your school has graduated 800 graduates in 5 years, that ought to be on the front page of somebody's newspaper all the time, in my opinion. But let's talk about this. So you and I have had some brief conversation about this concept that you have aptly named prison walls to college halls, which I think is just a phenomenal name and concept. So talk to us a little bit about that. Where'd that concept come from, and is that the key to some of the reculturing, if you will, that goes on at your school? So talk to us about that.
Well, I think it's rebranding, you know, because when people hear JJ, you think jail, you think trouble.
Right.
And so who's going to tell your story if you don't tell that story? So literally, that's something that it's a presentation that I've put out to from guys of summer leadership that I want to present and kind of talk about that story. I'm going to take that on the road because it's remarkable what's happening. You know, our team is really hard, but when you take students that are 3 and 4 grade levels behind who've been out of school for 2 and 3 years, and now they're in college, they're not only graduating from high school, but now they're the first person to graduate from high school, and now they're in college. Currently, we have 26 students in college while they're in jail with us, and it didn't start that way. And so the concept of prison walls, it was traumatic situations. You broke the law, you were sentenced. So what are we going to do about that? And so now I'm saying, okay, hey, you have to serve your time. Let's make the best out of the situation that you're in. And so when I was principal, we had so many graduates on campus. It was like, what are we going to do next? So it was a good problem to have. It's a great problem to say we have a lot of graduates. So then we started partnering with colleges around, you know, some of our local colleges. And like I said, Allen University has been a well-oiled machine for 6 years now. And they have been tremendous. You know, they work with us, the confines of being in a restricted environment. You know, our students can't just leave and go to the computer lab, or they can't just go when they want to go. So we have to work it out within the conditions of our day. But to have 800 graduates, 26 students currently in college, we have 5 students that are either juniors, sophomores, and juniors in college that's left with us. And we track them. You know, have a young man right now. He had like some of the highest scores that we've had since I've been here. He's a freshman at Benedict College, and just take a team effort. We check in with those students. We go pick them up. You know, we have some fraternities. The Kappas actually came out and say, "Hey, Ms. Lyles, we just want to help out because we are positioning our students. Everyone's not going to college, but we want to make sure they have a job when they leave. We want to make sure we're doing interviews." And so I have our team. We put a system in place where we're tracking students from like 90 days, 60 days, 30 days until they're released. So when they go back, we know they're going back to high school, they're going to college, they're going to get a job, because it's important for us to be able to make sure we're connecting the dots for students to get off to a good start. Because it's just like adults. Like if you get off to a good start, most of the time you keep going.
Right.
If you don't, most of the time it don't work. And so it's really, really important for us to be able to do that, to keep that trajectory going for those students to be successful in the next step.
That's outstanding. And I again, I mean, just hats off to the fact that you're keeping that commitment and giving these children hope and giving them an opportunity not only to just clear whatever hurdles they have to go back to their school, but you're turning it truly from a path perhaps to prison to an opportunity for college. So that's tremendous. I think you and your staff are to be commended for taking on that task and doing that work. So let's talk a little bit about some advice. So I always try to leave room in this show for folks who are doing the work to be able to advise those who are aspiring leaders. So whether it's in your exact path or not, just what are some advice you would give to folks who are aspiring to be educational leaders, and then maybe even specifically to do the kind of work that you're doing?
Yes, sir. Well, I think it's important to be ready before the opportunity. So
Okay.
whatever you're in right now, you need to really focus on being the best at whatever your role is. Whether it's, when I started, I was the ISS teacher.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so I wanted to be the best ISS teacher in the state. I was an ISS teacher, the football coach. And so wherever you are, you gotta sell out to be the best version of yourself. And so as I moved into just starting out as a teacher, I wanted to be the best math teacher in the state. And so I set the bar high for myself. And I didn't want to just, I didn't even allow my students to call me Coach Lyles, because I said, I'm a math teacher. So being a math teacher paid my bills, being a coach did not. And I didn't like the concept of what people thought about, like, of coaches. Oh, he's just a coach. I didn't want to be just a coach. And I think so if you're aspiring to take the next step, you gotta start now. It's I hear people all the time say, I just want a leadership role. Well, you want it when the job posts. So don't get ready.
I love it, brother. That's a great one. I love it.
I mean, so if I don't see those fruits happening now, just because it's an opening and it pays more money, they don't make you deserve it. It don't make you deserve it because you've been here a long time. So I want to be great in everything that I do. I want to be the best at everything that I do. And I think you have to excel, and you can't expect that from someone else if you don't expect that from yourself. And number two, I think you got to surround yourself with good people. So just for me to have this opportunity for someone that I admire, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and connecting the dots with people who's already done it. They have wisdom you don't have, and just learning from them. Have someone that you can talk to, outside of your circle. And, the last thing that I would say is, you got to do everything in your power to do what's best for students. And sometimes that means standing up for, an uncomfortable conversation. If it's never the wrong time to do what's right, at any level, and it's the way to do it. So don't just do it just because you're upset and you're passionate about it, but do it the right way. But speak up.
And sometimes when we're standing alone, aren't we?
It's definitely a lonely place.
Unfortunately, that's right.
That's it. And I really have to push myself in that. When I walk into the superintendent's room and we're announcing who we are and what district we're in, people will look at me and say, "Oh God, DJJ." Well, I don't look at it like that. I look at it in the terms of, what, all I ever wanted was an opportunity. And whatever the opportunity is, you want to maximize it and take it to the next level. Yeah. So I think that's what it's about, and that's what we do every single day. And it's hard. It's not easy. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm getting a little bit of that when I say I'm the superintendent of Sumter School District. Sometimes I get, oh Lord, too. How about that? But anyway, we're doing this great work together, aren't we? Yes, so, Mr. Lyles, kind of in a closing fashion, if you will, what are some outlooks that you have and see on the future of public school education? They keep telling us that we are rebounding from COVID or whatever it is that we're doing now. But if I could get you to kind of look in your crystal ball for a moment, what are some things that you see in our future that will affect us in education?
Well, I think it goes back to that piece of, we can have all the programs, we can have all the system and, the new buzzword, a new person coming in. I think that is really about relationships. And I can say that from the heart because I didn't know what I didn't know. And, the success that I'm having with the most difficult population in South Carolina.
Yeah.
No one had argument. I did the exact same thing when I was an elementary principal. So the biggest thing I'll say to that is I think we need to get back to I hear people say all the time, we want to get back to the basics. And I think the basics is caring. I think the basics really positioning our students in the best situations. And it may not look like what we're used to. It may look different. How do we take our system and create a system of care for every single student? Because it's not about the programs. It's not about, I was a football coach. I can run the wing tee. I can run the spread. You can do it a lot of different ways. But I think with students, the most important piece, I think, from an education standpoint, is how we put systems in place that are equitable, that's fair, that'll create options and opportunities for our students. Yeah. And if we do that, I think we can win the COVID war. We can win the socioeconomic war. It's about systems of caring for students. That's the biggest piece.
That wonderful 4-letter word, care.
That's right.
Simple, sounds simple, but it's and if we go back, and I say this occasionally, if we go back and think about our favorite teacher, the person who impacted our lives the most, some of the stuff that we're working on in today's time, the person was smart, or the person could do a good 12-step lesson plan, or whatever it is. That's not what we're going to talk about. If you and I identified our favorite teacher, we're most likely going to talk about someone that cared about us. So I think that is just spot on and something that we certainly need to insist upon, to be honest with you. That is included in our schools and the environments that we're serving in. So amazing advice and insight as to what we need for the future. Mr. Lyles, if you'll hold on with me for a minute, we'll come back and close out the show.
Yes, sir.
To the Wright Experience audience, I just want to thank you once again for tuning in and being a part of this work that we're doing. I'm absolutely excited about the future of the show and the amazing guests that we have forthcoming. As you all know, we are fast approaching, believe it or not, the Thanksgiving holidays. And so there might be some space and opportunity where we will do some repeat episodes, and we'll get through the Thanksgiving break. And then December 1st, we're going to come back to you officially with some amazing guests that we'll have on. And we'll be rolling right on through the Christmas holidays and into the new year. And we're just excited about the future of this show, as well as the content that we have brought you. Now, tonight's episode was episode number 77, believe it or not. And so that means we've done 77 episodes since February of 2021. And to be quite honest with you, when we embarked on this journey to start this show, I'm not sure that I never imagined it to be as successful as it has been. And all of that, of course, is because of you. And so I'm thankful for it. I want to continue to work diligently to bring this content to you. And I'm looking forward to having you be a part of it. Our guest on December 1st of 2022 will be Dr. Amanda Patterson. Dr. Patterson is currently employed at HMH, but she is also a guru on teaching folks how to interpret and use instructional data to become better leaders. So I'm absolutely excited to have her on the show. She'll be our guest December 1st. And we certainly want you all to continue to please take the opportunity to tell us about guests and people that you'd like to see on the show, because this show is all about you and your support and trying to make it better. And so I look forward to you all sharing those guests with me and those guest requests with me. Mr. Lyles, just want to thank you, my friend, for coming on the show. Thank you for your amazing service and leadership at SCDJJ and to the students all across the state of South Carolina. Your school gives students a second chance and an opportunity to be successful. And although, as we both stated earlier, they might be coming there not quite as focused when they get there, it is clear and evident that you are surrounding them with that care that we talked about and that love and that support. And you're providing some amazing outcomes. So hats off to you, my friend, for the work that you're doing that everybody won't do. And so I'm thankful for you to do that work. And this platform is open for you to come back on and be a part of any time that you choose to do so.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much for having me and giving me this opportunity. And I just appreciate your leadership and, setting the stage and creating opportunities like this, not just to have a guest, but to empower, people all over South Carolina and even beyond that. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And to the Wright Experience audience, thank you for viewing and good evening.